My collar's popped. The gloves, they're off. My iPhone case, removed. None of this is correlated whatsoever to the amazing report we got today detailing, for the first time ever, a 14-inch MacBook Pro. And this is on top of a new iMac Pro. Yes, this is the computer that I use every day because I personally don't want to drop $12,000 on a Mac Pro. A new version of that coming later this year alongside a new iPad mini and tons of other products. You're getting Apple mini LED displays as well. So I want to go over this report and some other exciting details like a trackpad coming to the next iPad Pro keyboard. And if you stick around to the end, I've got some really dope iOS 13.4 features and changes to show you that I think you're gonna like. To join Pop Collar Gang today, drop a like down below, hit subscribe for more. I'm just gonna keep on popping it because it really looks strange. And let's go ahead and jump in because we got some great news. There is only one place to start today, and it is gonna be with the 14-inch MacBook Pro. Now, I say this because we've been talking about the possibility of this for months. Just as Apple went from 15 to 16 inches, it wouldn't be a stretch to go from 13 to 14 inches. Apple will likely be slimming down the bezels to achieve this, and we know this new info and so much more courtesy of our best friend, Apple analyst Ming-Chi Kuo. To be more specific, we're looking at a 14.1-inch MacBook Pro, not with just a standard display, but this will be the first MacBook likely to gain mini LED. Now, this is not to be confused with micro LED, which I think honestly I've done in the past here. To sum it up super briefly for some quick context, mini LED is a little bit more expensive than LCD, but it's still LCD-based technology. Micro LED is incredibly tiny pixels. They emit their own light. They're very similar to OLED, and they look a lot better. So mini LED is better than LCD, micro LED better than OLED. Hopefully that makes sense. So now that we've gotten that baggage out of the way, essentially this is going to be a nice screen upgrade, and we don't have a lot of the details about exactly how it's going to look. Again, I think shrinking down the bezels is going to be how Apple uses a similar size MacBook body to achieve a higher screen to body ratio. So obviously, news of a 14-inch MacBook Pro, that's huge. If you've been looking to buy a MacBook Pro, I mean, this might be a reason that you want to wait now, which I know does not make your purchasing decision any easier considering a new 13-inch MacBook Pro is said to be just around the corner. Apple's also working on integrating mini LED technology in a number of other products. So a 16-inch MacBook Pro, the version that just came out, is probably going to be upgraded within the next year sometime with mini LED technology. A new 12.9-inch iPad Pro, but interestingly enough, the 11-inch iPad Pro is just left out of this report entirely. So it's probably just like an error of some kind because I couldn't see Apple putting a mini LED on one iPad Pro and not the other. I mean, it is the Pro series. And Apple's also working on a 10.2-inch iPad with mini LED. And the reason I've grouped all these products together is because we don't have any specific timeline for these just yet, which is no fun because then if you're in the market, you don't really know when to buy, you don't know how long you'll have to be waiting. We just know that this is coming at some point in the future. However, we do have some more specific dates for two other products on this list. First, the iMac Pro. Really excited about this one. And second, a new 7.9-inch iPad mini. First of all, extremely happy to hear that the iMac Pro is getting an update this year because there's really a huge gap between the Mac Pro that starts at $12,000 or even $13,000 if you get both the display and stand and Mac Pro, and then this, which starts at $5,000. There's really nothing in the middle. And Apple has been sitting on what is essentially the same model since 2017. The iMac screen is finally getting an upgrade, and I'm begging Apple, my fingers are double crossed here because I genuinely hope that we can get rid of some of these bezels. See, right now it looks good, but let me show you a little trick. Pull up your favorite website, and even in the blurriness of the background, you can see these bezels. I mean, they're a bit on the hefty side. And while years ago there was nothing wrong with that, compare this to any other monitor that's come out in recent history and it looks quite off. And look at our phones, look at our iPads. It looks like one is from early 2000 and the other is from 2020. And we do have a release date for this one. So it's going to be coming in the fourth quarter of this year, the great year of 2020, which is fantastic because it's been 3 years in December of this year since we got an iMac Pro upgrade. And I have a feeling Apple will be leaning towards the late November, early to mid-December timeframe to launch the new iMac Pro just because they tend to launch their Pro products very late into the year for whatever reason. So I'd say December 2020 is probably a safe bet for when the new iMac Pro is coming. For the second product, the new 7.9-inch iPad mini, the timeline, it gets a bit more vague, you know? You might have to put in your glasses to sort of get this into perspective. It's supposed to be coming just sometime later this year, but that's better than no release date at all. Again, the only thing we know about this device is that it will have the mini LED display improvements, and Kuo says that the coronavirus has really had no impact on this materializing. Like this display technology, it seems like it's on track as it always was. So a lot of big stuff in this report. Apple is not done with the iMac Pro. They are making a 14-inch MacBook Pro, and the iPad mini, it's still getting updated. It's not gonna be killed off anytime soon. But I'm gonna have to break it to you guys now. I don't wanna pull on your heartstrings anymore. That's not the craziest part of this video. The craziest part is what we're hearing in the department for the iPad Pro. Now, first up, a report from Bloomberg here, courtesy of Mark Gurman, noticing that iPad Pro 512GB supply worldwide is seeing constraints. Could be from coronavirus. There's also some speculation that as this product is said to be receiving an update with a triple camera setup and faster processor in the first half of 2020, that Apple is simply cutting back on supply, especially in LA and New York, because those are big markets, and they're preparing to ship out a new iPad Pro very soon. So it could be one or the other, but based on everything we've been hearing, it's probably just because a new model's on the way. All right, now tell us the actual news, dude. Like, that's not anything new. We already knew a new iPad Pro was on the way. Yeah, I know, Buster. I'm aware of that. I just wanted to give you the info. I can't even speak. I'm so worked up. Just wanted to continue to throw that info your way. So if you want to buy a new iPad Pro, like, it's probably just a couple of weeks out at this point. The big news. You know how iPads and iPhone, you interact with your fingers, and then on the Mac, you use trackpads. And you know how on iOS 13, Apple added initial mouse support in iOS 13, specifically on iPad OS, and it worked pretty well, but it still was not nearly as optimized as it should be. It was like, it's here if you want it, but it's still not the recommended route. Well, Apple may be changing how they feel about that later this year, according to the information. They're saying that the next version of the iPad Smart Keyboard is gonna have a trackpad on it. Now, initially, it's like, all right, like the support's there, like, okay, cool, that'll be an option. But you have to think about Apple in the 10 plus years that the iPad has been out. I guess it's been just around 10. They've never wanted you to use a mouse on the iPad. And in iPad OS, there's been some substantial upgrades. And Tim Cook, I think during an investor meeting the other day, had said they still have a lot of big things planned for the iPad in the future. Now, a trackpad built into the stock Apple keyboard. That's a big step in a very different direction. Like usually, Apple takes some small swerves in the highway. This is a sharp ride out of nowhere. I mean, you could speculate all day about what this means. More Pro applications coming that would require a trackpad. Final Cut Pro, Logic, Adobe Premiere, could that be on the way? Photoshop's already coming to the iPad. Is the iOS 13 mouse support just a placeholder for an entirely different mobile operating system or interface use case that Apple hasn't revealed yet? I don't want to get too wild, but a trackpad on the next iPad? What? Now keep in mind, we also got another report about the iPad Smart Keyboard for this year that said it would be backlit, but the information in the prior report don't share those details or connect them together. So potentially we get two different keyboards, or one has backlighting that comes out early in 2020, and then the second one this year comes with the trackpad. Obviously, still a lot of big questions, but let me know your thoughts on this down below. And as a bonus for everybody who made it this far in the video, I want to show you some of the bigger recent changes inside of the iOS 13.4 beta. It's been a bit sporadic, so I haven't been covering it as extensively, but I think you'll enjoy some of this stuff a lot. First up, inside of the Mail app, Apple has been repeatedly tweaking the bar here so that it makes more sense. In beta 2, it changed so that the flag button was removed, the reply button shifted over, and then there's now a compose button in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. So just generally managing email, it's so much better. You don't have to dig through menus like you did in previous versions of iOS 13. Heading over to the settings app, there are a ton of new TV app settings you can tweak here, and a lot of them largely relate to cellular data, downloading things over cellular rather than only sticking it to Wi-Fi, and the organization has been tweaked. So while it does look a lot different, it's not like there are any groundbreaking features inside of here now. This is pretty cool though. You can ask Siri now to take you to the home screen by saying everybody's favorite "Hey" catchphrase. Watch what happens. Siri can take you from any app to your home screen, where before, I'll show you how this looked on iOS 13.3, it would just say, oh, swipe up, That's all you could do. But now Siri can actually do the action for you, which is dope. Inside of the Stocks app, rather than it just saying Yahoo for Apple's attribution for where this information is coming from, now it says Yahoo Finance. So a very small graphical UI update that actually looks a bit nicer to my eye. Next up, this is actually very cool. The lyrical view in music. It's one of my favorite parts of the Apple Music experience, something that Spotify just doesn't even come close to, where it shows you as the song is playing what the artist is saying. Obviously, a big part of a lot of songs is the beginning and the end where there aren't any lyrics, so before it would just not move at all or show you that it was even being responsive, but now in the latest iOS 13.4 betas, get 3 little dots that sort of move around and tell you what's going on, that yes, the lyrics are coming, there's simply just no lyrics happening at this point in time. In Photos, you can now slide between all of these views whenever you are in the main Photos view. Before you'd have to tap on them individually, but it's much easier and much more fluid looking, so if you ever just want to fly around your whole photo library, I mean, you know where to go now. And finally, this is actually a really big deal to restore your iPhone's firmware. You've always had to connect to a computer, but according to what 9to5Mac has found inside of the iOS 13.4 firmware, you don't have to do that when Apple enables this in the future. It's called OS Recovery, and while you've always been able to erase what's on your iPhone to install iOS fresh, you've always had to connect to a computer. Now this suggests you'll be able to connect to another iOS device in the future, like an iPad or another iPhone, or just straight download it again over Wi-Fi straight from your phone. So absolutely no computer necessary in the future. This is a big deal for the future of the iPhone, and these are the biggest changes I wanted to show you in 13.4. Let me know what you think of all these down below. After a little hiatus, a little break from Apple News, they always come right back at it. Full sources linked down below per usual. Drop a like if you enjoyed it, hit subscribe for more. Hope you're doing well, and I'll catch all of you in my next video. Peace out.